Welcome back to the Back in Time channel. Okay, guys, we're going to discuss the SWV and Escape Queens of R&B. This is season 1, episode 4, Top Billing. So, in the first scene, we have Taj and Coco. They are doing their little fitness workout, and they discussing how the last meetup with the ladies went. And they was talking about the whole co-headlining issue that they had. They was talking about basically they didn't expect for that meeting to turn the way that it did, and they was coming in thinking like, hey, this is a celebration. We just want to do this to make history and stuff like that. And they feel like egos stepped into the picture, and it really caused things to be uncomfortable for them. And Taj is like, well, they can make history. And she was like, if we aren't able to do that because of egos, then she can really be crushed by that. So we get into the next scene where we have Lily, and she's meeting with SWV's manager. There, he's the manager, and she's basically just showing him so far what she has as far as her erotica audio book has, how far she has gotten. And she basically says that she's on a path to having multiple streams of income. She talked about how the group SWV has been very beneficial for her, and it has helped her be able to do that, to put her eggs in other baskets. And she wants to accomplish her dream of being an established writer. And so she's able to do this because of the income from SWV. And they also discussed the last meetup with Escape, and they just wants the egos to be put aside and make history and make things bigger, because it's a bigger picture um, that they're looking at, and not just, okay, this is a one-time event. They can make actual history. So we get to the next scene where you have Taj and Tamika. They meet up, they have lunch. So with them, these two, they having lunch, they're discussing more about the business side, more about the stage and the production and how they want things to go or whatever. And Tamika is really trying to step up into the creative role, and she wants to be heard. Like back then in the early 90s or whatever, when they came out, she took a backseat on it. She really just didn't care about it. She just went with the flow because her sister did everything. So she just did everything her sister went. She didn't really have any involvement. But lately she's trying to step up to the plate, be involved with everything. And so she took on the role of the creative process. She has her notes and everything, and she's just jotting down what everybody likes and ideas and stuff, and they discuss that. So we get to the next scene, and both groups meet up once again to discuss how things are going to go moving forward. And Tamika step into the creative role once again. She's working with Steve, who usually is the creative person behind the show designed for Escape. And again, she's taking the initiative. She jump starts the process, the conversation. And while they're in the middle of conversation, Coco interrupts, and she's like, I have a question. She was like, so is why everybody's happy go lucky, what are we gonna do about this co-headline and this headlining thing? What are we doing? She was like, I need to know what's going on. And Lily feels like because the show is so integrated and everybody ideas, and they're gonna be working just like everything is meshed in together, it's a great idea if they co-headline. And so Coco turns to Candy, and she's like, well, Candy. And Candy gives off like this laugh, like what you call my name for, or whatever. But she didn't say that, but that's how it came off. And Candy was like, well, I'm down for whatever my group is down for. And so Tasha intervenes and says, well, you know what, guys, we're not going to even go there. We're not going to even go into all of it. We just going to co-headline. And so everybody agrees they're going to co-headline. And then Candy feels some type of way in the confessional. She said, here come Tasha. She always do this. She didn't have no parts to do with anything, but she want to step in at the last minute and act like she's just coming to save the day and make me look like I'm the problem. I'm the only one who had the issue. But Candy was saying in her confessional that her other group members, they wanted to be the headliners. So that's the thing that I think everybody be missing when they so quick to blame Candy, is that she tells everybody why she's doing what she's doing. She said that the other group members, meaning Tiny and Tamika, they wanted to headline. But Candy always the one that speaks up and speaks out. And so she takes a lot of the heat because she's speaking on behalf of just not herself, but everybody in the group. And it is business at the end of the day, but they don't back her up. And that's something that I noticed in this scene because everybody was quiet. But she definitely felt some type of way when Tasha did that. So after they agree with that they gonna co-headline, which I agree. I agree with Lily saying that they should co-headline since everything is so meshed. Tamika goes on to continue to explain the process of how everything is supposed to flow with the creator director Steve. Now you got Tasha, she feeling some type of way in her confessional because she's usually the one who's always talking with Steve and working with Steve because she usually steps into that role. But Tamika stepped into that role because if she didn't, they would just be sitting ducks and they're not going anywhere. So she took on the role to get the process moving. Tasha comes off like she's jealous and says she make a comment and say, "You already taken away from the sisterhood. Now you're gonna take away my creative lead role." And I thought that right there was unnecessary to say. You talking about she taking away the sisterhood. Did you think about taking away the sisterhood when y'all stole her 30K? Allegedly. Well, she said she got proof. So did you think about that when y'all took her 30K that came up missing that was mailed to your mom's house where you were staying at? I just thought that was petty for her to say something like that because according to your sister, you're a whole klepto. So we get to the next scene. Coco, Candy, and Tasha, they up in the studio and they choosing the songs for the set list. And they going on what songs they always open with, songs they close with, and all of that. And they start to ask Tasha questions or whatever. And she's just sitting there, again, disengaging, not really cooperative, or just not, she really has no input. She like, oh no, yeah, just short words, short answers like, um, I gotta pray about it. I gotta pray on it. I don't know. She's just very cut and dry. And Coco feels the tension. She in her confessional saying whatever issues her and Candy got going on, you can feel it. And she was like, "It just make me uncomfortable. I feel like I'm in a couple's bedroom in the middle of an argument or something like that." She was just like, she don't want no parts of it or whatever. She was very uncomfortable. So we get to the next scene where you have Taj and Tamika. They meet up with Steve, the creative director, and he shows them the progress so far with everything they discussed and whatever. And it's almost like basically he's saying the way they got it set up and stuff. It's gonna be like the stage is so big and everything, and they gonna have it like where both groups is almost get their own intro. Even though everything's gonna be together, they have enough where they can both be separate but together at the same time, but both will be able to be introduced. And they constantly, Taj and Tamika constantly requesting this thing and suggesting this idea, whatever. And you can see at the bottom of the screen, like the budget is just constantly going up. It just exceeded to over 200K. And Tamika makes a comment and say, "Yeah, and we can have the horses and blah 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 blah." And Steve's like, "We're not bringing horses in the actual Toyota State Center or stuff like that." He was like, "Maybe we can have them on the screen behind." He was like, "But we can't bring no horses in." And I thought that was extra too, cause she mentioned horses in the first meeting with the ladies when they all met up, and they kind of felt like she was just overboard with it, cause Tiny felt like it was cute, but it was corny at the same time. And she was just being extra with it, but nonetheless, she was suggesting ideas. So we get on to Candy and Don Juan. Candy is talking to Don Juan about how the meeting with Coco and Tasha in the studio. And Candy was telling Don Juan she hasn't been cooperative. And Don Juan was like, "Well, what's the reason why she acting like that or whatever?" And Candy is like, basically, she's trying to do a solo album. She want to do her gospel solo album. That's how she treating us, and I heard about it and whatever. And Don Juan feels like, well, she gonna have to, she gonna need y'all. She gonna need something because the gospel industry is not that accepting. They just like the country industry. You got to earn your right into it or whatever. I was like to myself, maybe 20 plus years ago that might have worked, but it ain't that way today because it's like now anybody can be a gospel artist almost. And to be honest with you, you got people that are gospel artists now. They don't even call themselves gospel artists. They call themselves inspirational singers. But that's a whole nother video and a whole nother topic. But he feels like she is basically, no, Candy feels like basically she's using the group as a safety net And so if something falls through with her gospel, she can always just come back. So she's just basically stringing them along, but she's basically showing up enough to say, hey, I haven't left the group, but she's not cooperating and having any input in the group, if that makes any sense. She's present, but she's not present, making it seem like I ain't left, I ain't went nowhere, but I'm not finna do anything. And so Don Juan says to Candy, don't make someone a priority that keeps making you an option. And Candy likes what he says because, again, she feels like Tasha always have an attitude when she comes to the group and she keeps them in limbo. So we get to the next scene where Jalen and Taj and Coco, they shopping. And they looking for outfits and stuff like that would be nice for them or whatever. And Coco goes on to ask Taj a question since she has a son in high school about to graduate and go to college, and then she already got one that came out and that's in college. And she was like, I need to ask you. She was like, because Jalen decides that he don't want to do dentistry anymore. He want to go into the music business full time. And Tasha was like, well, why? She was like, why? She was like, you always want to do dentistry. He was like, I'm just not feeling it anymore. And I've been stressed out a lot in school. She was like, you stressed out because of dentistry? He was like, I had to go to therapy. She was like, you had to go to therapy because you stressed out with dentistry? He was like, no, I was dealing with other things. She was like, oh. And then Coco said in her confessional that she has to watch him closely because he deals with depression also. So it sounds like something that runs in their family, mental issues. Um, because she already said she was diagnosed with some type of mental illness. And you got him, he battles with his depression and stuff. So she be worried about him a lot. So Taj give him great advice. She was like, listen, she was like, when she left the group and when Coco went solo or whatever, she was like, she had to go back to a 9 to 5. She was working a 9 hour job at a desk. And she was like, things were hard because Coco was the token. She was the golden ticket. So everybody had Coco. This is what she's saying in her confessional. And she was like, her and Lily just got thrown on the back burner. They was expendable. And I was like, man, that's messed up because it's like basically all this time, it's like you got Coco. Now that's the real Gladys Knight and the Pips, if you ask me. But not because Taj kept saying that Coco had this ego back in the day that she was very, very unpleasant to deal with. And so that right there, that Coco really had her butt on her shoulder. So she was just basically saying, why can't you do both? Megan Thee Stallion do it. And he was like, I'm not Megan Thee Stallion. No, she was like, just think about it. She was like, because you're going to want something to fall back on, because she was saying the industry is so fickle. She was like, you good today, but then you can be tomorrow's trash and whatever. So she was like, don't put it, what she say, don't put it in the trash or something. She said, put it on the counter or whatever. So she had him rethinking his decision or whatever. And I thought it was good advice. So So we get to the next scene, y'all, and this is like a cross scene between Escape being in rehearsal and Tasha and Rocky talking together in the kitchen. So while Escape is in the rehearsal, they're rehearsing and they're asking a question and they're wondering where is Tamika, and nobody has heard from her, but they're singing together as a trio and they sound really good. And then we get to Tasha and Rocky, who's actually having a conversation in the kitchen about the deal, about signing the contract with Motown Gospel. And he's just explaining to Tasha, like, how he has been able to seal a deal of her, just having her own solo career and it really happening this time. And she going to be owning her own masters and stuff like that. And so he poses a question to her, what does this mean for Escape? And then it pans back to Escape. They're doing their rehearsals, and again, they sound really good. Tamika is doing all of Tasha's part. And again, in my opinion, Tamika has the strongest voice. She can do basically Tasha's part almost just as good as she can. And her voice is very versatile to me, as well as Tiny, because they both can do Tasha's part. And Candy's voice is very distinctive. It's strong and it's distinctive, and it gives you that Escape sound. And so they're asking, and Candy's like, So I don't think Tasha's coming. And then Tamika's like, no, she's not coming. So Candy takes on the initiatives and she says, both of you need to just rehearse her part because I don't think she's coming. And then they asked the road manager or whatever, and she was like, no, can y'all do her sound check as well? And Candy was like, really? She was like, why do we keep letting her do this to us? Why don't we set any ground rules? She always throws us on the back burner and just leaves us high to dry or whatever. And she's just expressing her frustrations and stuff. And after Candy says this, Tamika is in a confessional saying that the old her would have been like, whoa, wait a minute, let me step in and defend my sister. But because she realizes now that she's old and mature, that this is business, she understands Candy's frustrations and she agrees that her sister is wrong for what she's doing and how she treats the group. And so Candace like basically still expressing, she's like, she is definitely acting like she Diana Ross and we the Supremes. She treat us like she Gladys Knight and we the Pips. And so she basically saying that we gonna have to just do this without her. And so they switch back to Rocky and Tasha. And again, he's posing that question to her. And she says, well, I've been thinking. And again, she's been praying on it. She's basically coming to terms. She realizing with everybody attacking her, her mom, and her husband, this might be the a sign for her or some way for her to just go and set herself free and go to her solo deal. And it took me back to where Tiny was saying that in the last episode that it seems like Tasha just making excuses just to distance herself from the group, just to find something so she can pursue her solo deal. It makes sense based off what Tasha was saying in this scene, because again, Tasha was saying like they was attacking not only her but her mom and her husband. And I'm like, did we leave? Did I miss an episode? Because I don't remember the group members and anybody attacking the mom. And it took me back to whether in some interviews that Candy said a lot of stuff was left out that they could have put in that would have really, really shocked the audience and stuff. So maybe we missed some key scenes that they really could have left in there, but they decided to take out. Because again, the mama was screaming, cut the cameras, cut the cameras. So maybe a lot of stuff they stopped. You want to talk about Candace stopping things and stopping scenes. Maybe a lot of stuff you stopped from being seen. Because again, Candy was saying she didn't understand why some stuff they just didn't show. And so when she said that, I was just like, well, yeah, maybe it's some truth to what Tiny was saying. And she's saying basically this is a way for her to go and pursue and set herself free. So she basically is going to end up doing her solo deal. But I don't think that she's going to leave the group for good. Because again, she tried that in the 90s. She tried to still keep them in loop, like Candy was saying, and use it as a safety net. So, okay, in case this don't take off and go wrong, I can just go back to the group. But I don't think that's going to happen this time around, because Candy is fed up with Tasha. And apparently the rest of the group is too, because her behavior and her ego has just took the forefront and just taken her to a place where it's just basically destroying her relationship with not only her group members, but her sisters too. So it'll be interesting to see how next week's episode is going to be. But they ended off with the girls in rehearsal and they practicing as a trio. And to be honest, they sound so good together, you wouldn't even know that Tasha was the fourth element that was missing. Because again, their voices are versatile and distinct. They still have that escape sound in their magic. So it's like she never went anywhere. So with that, coupled with the backing track, it's like Tasha who? But that's just my thoughts. I want to know you guys' thoughts below. Let me know what you thought about this episode, and I will talk to you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe here with us at Back in Time. But until next time,
this is a good time. Get the stepping. This is a good time. Get the stepping.